Welcome back. Hope you've had fun creating a site. We're now going to just continue looking at more tools, and we can't really avoid Twitter. Twitter's a fantastic tool, and if you're cynical towards social media, don't worry, because you can think of it just as a news channel, and one in which you don't share your breakfast or what your cat looks like. You don't have to even have a cat, but it is a fantastic tool for horizon scanning, for keeping an eye out for things and seeing the news. And so we're going to look at Google Plus later, which is Google's sort of similar tool, which sometimes gets a bad press, but I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. I found Google Plus to be better professionally and Twitter to be more fun personally, but that's partly because of the way I use it rather than the tools themselves. So, your Twitter task, we're going straight into the task. If you haven't done so, register for Twitter and experiment with tweeting if you want. And then a key thing, if you decide that you want to use this professionally, then search for some concepts and some ideas and follow the people around it. And explore and keep following people, and definitely if you've got a smartphone or an iPad tablet thing, then definitely install those clients and check it regularly. And it's a little cliche, but it's a garden. You need to sort of tend it slightly for a while. So check it every day for a few weeks and see if something useful does actually come back to you. And now, after a while, and you start tweeting, it is after time that then that's when the really valuable thing starts happening, where people start bringing you interesting ideas or stuff or just whatever. And so another cliche, and you get out what you put in, and sometimes you get nothing out, to be honest. But definitely give it a whirl, just from an evaluation point of view. And I've worked with people who've been very cynical and have been pleasantly surprised in a very short period of time. So it's definitely one to try. So getting on to G Plus communities, which I said I found better. G Plus, Google Plus rather. I found to be better. I managed to connect with people at York that I didn't even know existed. And that's either a comment on York or just on the nature of being online. It has this feature called communities, and they're a little bit like Google Groups. Beware, they're not quite as good in many ways as Google Groups, but they are fancier and nicer and slicker to look at. And you can see here are some of the groups that I'm a member of, one's about learning and one's about coding. And there's some really good uses of Google Groups, and they tend to be better, well, they tend to be in two flavours. One is a private group, and just only members who've been allowed in, and the other is more of a public outreach thing. So if you've got a project that needs to connect with people out there in the world, that needs awareness raising about the work that's going on, then do consider Google Plus communities, and do consider Twitter. They are slightly different, and they have different conventions and nuances, and often overlapping members. So definitely worth exploring. Now, here's two examples. On the right is a digital literacy community that attracts anyone around the world in those areas, and they just share resources. It's one of those keeping everybody informed type things, and you can go try that out. But one of the best uses that I always bring up is in archaeology, where they said, hey, we're sending each other emails saying, have you seen this bid and have you seen the other bid? And it's a bit like spam because we've already got too much email, so why not let's do that stuff in a Google community? And that had the effect of encouraging people to do more of it, because you knew that you weren't being pestering people saying, oh, here's another one. we should go for this bid with these people, and it's mainly contributed to by one person who kind of keeps an eye and posts things, but then people discuss things as it goes by. So this is sort of this is research bid departmental intelligence. This is really a fantastic use of doing two things. One is doing a new, if you like, service, a new collaboration where they're actually everybody's encouraged to share stuff and maybe even browse this stuff on their smartphone when they're having a coffee. But also it was a concerted effort to get rubbish, or not rubbish, but lots of emails out of email into somewhere else. So I think that's a great example, a use of Google Communities. So here's your Google Plus task. Register. It tries to force you to select your interests like yachting and golfing and bananas, but you can skip all those and just get in there. Watch the skip button. Add an image for yourself. Doesn't have to be you, but the image gets used throughout Google Mail, and what becomes useful then is that people often might spot that they're sending the right message to the right person, if you see what I mean. If it's not a picture of you, it doesn't matter. You could put a picture of a tree or your cat, because it still helps differentiate from somebody else who's got a picture of their dog or Elvis Presley. And also, whilst you're doing this, if you've not registered for YouTube, because it's linked to your Google Plus account, do that. It's a bit of a faff. I think they send you a text and you've got to confirm it or an email. And the reason for doing that is that you will need this later for Google Hangouts. And then use it as a search engine, find communities, join communities, and do the same thing that you would be doing with Twitter, which is just keep an eye on it and see if useful stuff does indeed come out, or if useful people present themselves. You can add people you can start to follow people as well on Google Plus, much like you can on other things, and that can be useful because you can sort of restrict stuff that you send out, so that you can say, only send this to these people, or only send this to the others. So just go and explore Google Plus and see what you think. Evaluate it against Twitter. See which makes the most sense. Blogging. It's still a thing. It seems to be waning slightly in popularity, but Blogger is still there on blogger.com. You can go create a blog. Great for news site. There's been some fantastic uses of blogging. There's a link there. Let's maybe have a look. Okay. Oops. Let's have a look at this. So funding opportunities in physics, e-learning developments team have blogs, sociology at work. There's some really I keep a blog on just the work that I'm doing. There's some really good uses of blogs, and they're a very good way of being found by Google. Whereas Twitter can be a little bit ephemeral, and once things have happened and gone, then they've gone. A blog will be a blog post, and its content will be there and findable for years to come. It was recently where the Centre Sprue department in New York created a post about their research, and it got picked up by The Guardian, and that meant that thousands of people were finding out about Sprue's work. And this was sort of viewable from the analytics within Blogger. It created a massive spike. And so in terms of outreach and impact, they can demonstrate that their work is relevant and being read. Let's see if I can go back. So, I mean, maybe that is a task. Maybe go create a blog, should you think. If you haven't, it's definitely worth a try. Now, using Google Hangouts. Hangouts are video conferences with people. You can do it one-to-one, like an old-fashioned video conference. You can do it. You can have 4 or 5 people in a room. And you can also do it and share presentations. You can share your screen, much like this. I could have done this as a Hangout. Now, there's also another sort of Hangout called Hangouts on Air. And what the on air bit means is that whilst you're presenting, people can watch it on YouTube, and the number of watchers is unlimited, so it's streamed. You could have millions of viewers watching your presentation. But also it's recorded to YouTube. So with a number of departments, we have, with a laptop and a webcam, we have recorded seminars on a monthly basis, and they have they've built up into an archive. There's a link in the slides, and you can go and watch previous presentations from all sorts of archaeologists or from sociologists or whatever. But also you can do presentations where we did one between 3 different universities, one in America, one in Southampton, and one at York. So we took it in turns to present and ask questions, and it was all recorded, and we then worked on a Google Doc together that looked at the issues that had been raised in the presentations. So Hangouts, people tend to shy away from them because it's video, as I do, but definitely worth a try, both from the recording point of view, but also just for those quick meetings where if you can avoid having a meeting where somebody has to trudge across campus for no real reason other than to check in, then Hangouts can be a fantastic way of getting lots of dispersed people who may be working from home or away on study leave or all sorts of things, just together, and just for those short kind of stand-up meetings that you might have as part of a project, or just to get everybody involved. So definitely something. I'm going to try one later, and you'll see how they work. Very easy. Lucidchart drawings. Lucidchart is a tool that is added to Google Drive for the university for free. You can have a play with it now by going to Google Drive and saying create a new Lucidchart diagram. And your Lucidchart task. I want you to stop the video and go and add a Lucidchart diagram and think about one of your projects visually. And I'm a big fan of visual thinking, just for the sake of it. I think quite often it can bring new things to a project or an idea or a process or something that you're working on. But also, because you can collaborate on these diagrams, you can then share that thinking with someone else, and they can say, I never thought of that, or I didn't realise things. What about these bits here that you haven't missed, that you've missed? And there are other tools as well that are not installed, such as MindMap or LucidPress. So shall I just show you how to install? If we go into Google Drive and we say New, and we go More, and we go down here, you can see these are the different apps I've got installed. We can connect more apps and compose music together. Okay, that sounds interesting. Here's another mind mapping tool, or one for doing coding. So Pixel Express is a great. It's a great. I've already connected that one. Photo editing tool. So if you need to do some photo editing and don't have a copy of Photoshop, some of these tools are incredible. So add MindMap, or LucidPress is like a desktop, like the equivalent of InDesign, except a lot easier to use and great for producing posters or flyers or those sorts of things. So either using Google Lucidchart or MindMap or LucidPress, go and have a play with those apps and create something about one of your projects, and it can be a personal interest or it can be a project interest. And I'll see you at the next video. Okay.